Hi folks, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Payal and I am a traveler who also loves to meet people. And I think a blend of both is where this concept of melting pot has come about. In my Melting Pot series, I will be talking to lots of inspiring people from different parts of the world and also from different cultures, whom I meet during all my travels. The common factor between these folks will be the desire to follow their passion and make it a way of life. So step into this melting pot and enjoy the chats. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Melting Pot. What makes this series so special for me is this opportunity that I have to meet and talk to some very, very extraordinary people while I'm traveling. And as you've gathered by now, I'm traveling all the time. So Jolene Lo, who's my guest today, is one such very special person. Jolene's also a traveler like me, but of course her travels are, very, very different and have a very different objective as compared to mine. But we'll get Jolene to tell you all about it. So we actually have been trying to find a suitable time over the past few days to try and connect, and finally it's happening. Hi, Jolene.
Hi.
And thank you so much for joining me today. And I understand you are in Morocco.
Yes. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a while. As you probably know, I would have normally traveled to you and we would have had a face-to-face conversation, but clearly, the
It's
situation.
the new now.
Yeah, it's the new now, exactly. But I can't, that can't be my life because I can't not travel. So anyways, thank you again. And, if you've listened to, I'd sent you links. So if you've listened to any of my previous episodes, you sort of get an understanding that I like it to be a very free flow conversation. And I'd like my guests to really, really talk about their journey. So I'd like you to do the same.
Yeah. My journey is a little complicated, I guess. But in summary, it's just a little bit about myself. Thank you so much for the invite. I truly enjoy your podcast, and I love the one that you did in, I believe it was in Vietnam, with a vegan restaurant owner.
That's right. I've done a few in Vietnam. Yes.
So a little bit about myself. So I have been in advertising for the last, I think, 12 years, and I always call it my past life. And people say like, "Oh, you mean like the last life that you lived?" I was like, no. So being in the corporate world has taught me a lot. So I've grown so much in the corporate world during those 12, 13 years. And one day I just felt like, everything's so routine, and this is the first time in my life, because I'm such a workaholic, first time that I woke up and I didn't feel like going to work. And that was like a trigger point, like, what is going on? Something needs to happen. And I felt so heavy going to work that day. I still remember that day very well. And then I took a break to go to Taiwan, and I visited some friends in the coastal region, a smaller town. And I was like, oh my God, I need to move here. I need to live here. And I wanted to just pick up all my stuff and just move my life there. That's when I met one of my biggest coach in life, which is actually my ex-boss. So she's a Taiwanese. And she was saying that, maybe you should slow down a bit. Like, test out the market, do 3 months exploring the city before moving your life there. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And so it started in preparation of maybe I should take 3 months off, from work and just kind of explore Taiwan before moving there. And as I meet more people and talk a little bit more about my plans, it evolved into traveling the world. And so 100 days become 200 days. And now it's been almost, in June, it's going to be 3 years. So that's kind of the nomadic lifestyle I have now. But throughout this 3 years, it's been crazy and amazing journey. It's probably, I would say, like it's taught me so much more about myself than I could ever actually had before. And yeah, the transformation, transitioning from a workaholic to a complete, I would call myself, I guess, a free spirit traveler. And finding passions of what I love to do and finding my life purpose. I mean, that journey was amazing. So yeah, now what I do is to make people be more aware of themselves through meditation, through healing work, through spiritual counseling, and also through food, which is one of my passion points. And now it became a little brand that I have and I own, which is called JL Home Cook. Which I yeah, it's funny because that was the nickname. Everyone had for me when I was working in the advertising, JLo, because that was my email address. So JLO at yahoo.com.
Right. Okay, so can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
When you talked about, okay, so you woke up one morning and you felt like that you didn't really want to go to work. So do you think that was because you clearly have had a different calling, right? So how did you, I mean, what prompted you into becoming spiritual and becoming a healer and wanting to give back? What sort of, where did that come from?
So that's the beautiful part. I started my travel not thinking anything spiritual, and I wasn't even looking for myself. I was looking for the perfect home for where I want to live. Throughout that journey, I've met amazing, like beautiful people whose kind of seeded thoughts and like triggered thoughts somehow, and like it's just kind of reflecting back. Even right now, I'm just reflecting of all the people that I've met, who's kind of like a little seed here and there. I think my journey in the spiritual side of the journey started in Egypt, and this is amazing because I would call, like, I was reborn in Egypt. And it all started from even the first day of me arriving. It was late night, and as soon as I arrived, I felt the energies like just really overwhelming. And I was thinking like, oh, this is like a summary of Southeast Asia plus India all in one in Egypt. And I met this beautiful woman. She's actually also a nomadic traveler. She's been traveling for, I think, 3 to 5 years, and she's an American Vietnamese. So she was my host, and she was such a sweet person. And she's like, "Hey, I'm going for yoga tomorrow morning. Would you like to join me?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't done yoga in the longest time." And I went with her for yoga in this beautiful wellness center in Madi in Egypt.
Sorry, which part of Egypt?
It's in Cairo, and it's
Okay.
this neighborhood called Madi. It's a beautiful place. That's where they actually the government planted 1 million trees to make it green.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where I met my first guru, and we shook hands with someone who introduced us, and immediately I felt like, oh my god, I know why I'm in Africa. And I had that calling for the longest time, but I just didn't really think a lot about it until that moment. I was like, this is the reason why I'm here. And he was my guru, my first guru in Egypt. And that opened up the whole transformation about just reflecting on, and like, because I had so many layers on. So he made me walk through this exercise of just taking off layers like onion, like peeling off layers and layers of layers that I've pre-built to really find who I am deep down inside.
Basically, you felt that growing up and your during your corporate life, you had this persona about you, which is what I guess you're referring to, the multiple layers. But deep down, there was something else which you had kind of tucked away. Is that what
Yeah.
you're?
So it's really interesting because it's interesting that you actually asked this. So like my background, just so that everyone knows, in the corporate world, I was the sales head, and being in the sales field, often you have to kind of adapt to the environment, to the clients that you're working with. So a lot of friends that I talk to now, like after being not in the corporate world anymore, like often we feel like we are a little lost of who we are because we're so adaptive to our environment. We're constantly changing ourselves to suit this person that we need to convince to buy things from us. So we really do not have kind of like a backbone, ultimately, because there's just so many different personas that we're trying to be. And I never had a time in my life to really just think about who is Jolene, who is she, So yeah, that's exactly it.
And so, from Egypt, where, I mean, you're from Malaysia, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't belong anywhere.
I don't know. I feel exactly the same way. So, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from. Of course, my journey is not anywhere compared to yours. In terms of finding myself and all of that, but that's what makes you so special. So so after you found your guru, what happened? Did you just stay back in Egypt, or did you use whatever knowledge that you were able to absorb from your guru? Did you share it? What did you? I mean, what kind of a path did you follow after that, other than being a nomad? In terms of finding yourself, how did you then take it forward?
You're listening to a fusion of stories recounted for the first time ever by some fascinating people from across the globe with me, Payal, on this very unique and special podcast series, Melting Pot.
Yeah, so after I met this guru, and I met a few more gurus after, even in the same center, and all of this meeting at this point was really by chance, and it's meant to be. So I was supposed to volunteer in Kenya for 2 weeks in working with the orphanage home, and I had to push it out because I felt like there was this strong sense of connection and just feeling I need to do this and I need to work on myself before I could actually help others. And yeah, so through this guru, I did a almost like a 2 weeks cleansing of myself, a lot of meditation, a lot of just him talking to me and really resolving a lot of all these tensions and emotional clots, I would call it, and really releasing them, because a lot of us, we store all this emotional thoughts, memories, and I guess challenges, and we just kind of put it aside, thinking that that's the way of life. You just put it aside, you don't think about it, and that resolves it. But no, it keeps lingering and it's growing, and so he pushed me to face all of it, one and every single one of them, and which is really powerful in a way, because nobody has actually pushed me to think like that. And one of this really, like, I really want to tell you the story, of my journey in Dandara. I'm not sure if you've been to Egypt. Have you?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to Egypt.
Okay, so if you actually ever go to Egypt, if you're visiting Luxor, which is all where the historical temples are and the tombs, so 45 minutes from Luxor is this town called Dandara. And through my like the traveling journey, I felt myself being very attracted to one of the goddesses, and I just feel like connecting with her, and it's goddess of Hathor, and she's the goddess of love, enjoyment, so like music, alcohol, all of the happiness side of life. So she had a temple in Dandara, and I only had like 3 hours in the morning to really see that temple. And so I traveled to make it happen. And in that temple, it was amazing because I was there at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and I was the only one. And through this journey of just looking through the temple, there was this special room that I entered, and like this guard who was working there for more than 40 years. He was telling me that this is a secret place and go in first. I was just like, oh gosh, going into this temple room. And as soon as I step into the room, I heard this voice, which is like, your baby is okay. And I was just shocked because it's been probably 5-6 years. I haven't thought about it. I lost a baby because of ectopic pregnancy. But I used to not able to talk about it because it's a taboo topic, and it just feels very shameful not talking about it. But that experience has made me realize that there was unresolved issues within me, and through that temple. So as soon as I heard those voices, I was just really shocked. And then here comes in the guard who is like, okay, so let me tell you about this room. And he goes, this is the birthing room of Hathor. And immediately I had goosebumps all over my hands, thinking like, oh my God, this is scary. And a beautiful thing happened in that room because it's as though he knew. So he put me in like next to this wall, and he's like, put your head here, put your hand here, facing the moon and the sun, which are symbols of on the wall. And he just kind of did this like healing session, which at that point I didn't understand it. I was like, I don't know what he's doing. So he did that. And after that, I had this thought that, oh, maybe I have some unresolved emotional things I need to work on. So coming back to Cairo, to that, the wellness center there, and I saw a class that's like forgiveness meditation. And I went to that class thinking that I need to resolve this. So went through that class and discovered that forgiveness meditation is such a powerful tool, and I discovered those unresolved issues not with myself anymore, apparently because he did the healing session, so I've cleansed that out, but I have issues with my parents. So that triggered another journey for me to go through. And that's how I actually met my second guru, who's a pranic healer. And it was just so happened that she's free for the next 3 days, and I only have 4 more days in Egypt before I get kicked out. and and our schedules just synced, and that was a 101 session to train me up for level 1. And yeah, and that really started my whole journey into healing. And it was because of that experience. It was really powerful.
So you're now a pranic healer.
Yes.
Okay. So? I mean, going back to that temple, the god was actually a healer.
This is the most crazy thought that I have. Yeah, like I met this really petite little sweet man, and he's done all this healing stuff on me, and here I was, thinking like, oh gosh, I should be more careful. The typical thought that a solo traveler, especially female, would have. Like, what was I doing? Like really trusting people like that. And there he was, just really not thinking about anything else, but to help this woman that's in front of him.
Did you go back again to that temple?
No, I didn't. It would be an amazing story to go back and to see him again.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, this is a different level altogether, but what if he actually doesn't exist and he was just and he was
that's
there?
One of my thoughts for the longest time, actually. I was like, was he even there?
Wow, that's amazing. So now, I mean, so you became a pranic healer, and you'd mentioned earlier that you're working with children who are autistic. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my recent journey, I feel like the way that I traveled in my first year was completely like tourism based, going to see beautiful places. I mean, I love it all, but it started to be a bit like, I need more. So this year is really focused on helping others, those who are in need. Last year, I actually found a volunteering work in Morocco, actually, and for autistic children. And I was fascinated because that word has been in my mind a lot during my meditation times, and I just didn't know how to get myself involved. And I found a volunteering camp in Morocco, and I was just so happy. So I went for it, and it was an amazing journey to see these women, these parents actually having no resource at all to kind of elevate their understanding and awareness and education about how to work with their kids. And there's nothing at all in small towns. So it was amazing. This founder actually organized these camps. We're flying all these consultants and therapists to travel all the way to Morocco. And that was my first experience with autism. And this year, I am kind of dedicating myself to focusing on this need. And I've also started to work on sound. And that was one of the messages during my meditation, to really work with sound. And so right now I'm just kind of toying around the element of using sound to help build some tools to help these autistic family to enable them to use sound to kind of lower down the vibration when the autistic child is actually in a new environment where steaming is happening. To really help them understand by kind of using different tools, music, instruments to calm them down, essentially. Yeah, so that's something that I'm still working on, and that's I'm not really sharing a lot about it because I feel like it needs a little bit more time, like maybe a year. Next year, I could talk more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I can have another conversation with you next year.
I can follow up.
Yeah, follow up. Yeah, like a part two. So, I mean, now I know that you can't leave Morocco because of the global situation at the moment. But what what are your plans? What are you thinking of? Are you going to once you've and which part of Morocco are you in?
I'm currently in Tangier, so it's the north part. It's the beautiful part near the coast, the sea.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so what, once you've kind of discovered, understood, and worked with parents and children, using sound in Morocco, is it something that you would like to travel with? And go to other centers around the world? Is that something that you'd like to do?
Um, I would definitely say yes, if my theory works. And I've worked with multiple different children, and I understand that each child is very different. So that comes with it by traveling and understanding and working with different children everywhere in the world. Yes, so yeah. To answer your question, yes, I would love to do that traveling as well. Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's so. I mean, Jolene, you have so many different, very fascinating kind of. I won't use the word layers because you've already stripped off all of the
There's multiple.
layers. So I can't think of a term, but how is it like? Is it all interconnected? Pranic healing. So you use pranic healing to help communicate as well with the children and with others.
Yeah, so I am trained in both soul reading, Reiki, as well as pranic healing, and now sound. But what I believe in is there's just no one single tool or media or method in each soul, I would call it, whether it's child or adult, right? And every time when I'm working with different clients, it's just so different, what their soul needs, what ultimately they need. Yeah, so there's just no one single method. So it's sometimes a combination of both or three, or it's completely something that I'm not even trained for. But what I do is just be connected as much as possible to my gut,
So
to
yeah,
my instinct.
for you, a lot of it is intuitive.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So does it, I mean, personally, if you are obviously energy must be an important source, right?
Yep.
So do you, I mean, do you, when you're in the healing process, when you're healing through whatever different souls, as you mentioned, do you does it impact you personally, or is there a way in which you're able to kind of deflect it so that you don't get personally, because that's absorbing a lot of energy, right? Or because I don't really know much about Reiki, and so my question may sound really, really nonsensical, but just
No.
to make me understand. Is there, I mean, is there a method where you just deflect the energy, the negative energies that you may receive?
Yeah, so that's a beautiful and powerful question, and often a lot of people ask, especially even those who actually are familiar with energy healing. Um, so I work in this method that I'm a channel, right? So I do not give you the energy that's from me. I'm just a channel, and the universal is the source of the energy. And as a channel, I try to keep myself as clean as possible, and that's why I try not to kill any mosquitoes. No killing of any animals of sort. So I'm a vegan by nature, and no alcohol, which has been for 2 years now, and I feel good about it. And as a channel, just keeping myself clean, because it's important that you are as intuitive as you can be, like no self-doubt, no self, a lot of negative thoughts and emotions are in place. So I do a daily morning meditation, to clear all of these thoughts and all this negativity, if there's any, away and release it out, before I start my work with different clients. And yeah, so like that's kind of like the ultimate like the routine that I do. And as a channel, we work with the universal energy to take in, like from sun, from trees, from nature, from Mother Earth, to connect the client with those universal energies, and kind of transporting this energy across to them. So yeah, like one common question is, as a practitioner, I don't really call myself as a healer. As a practitioner, do you get really tired after 5 or 6 sessions, or like 10 sessions? And the answer is you should not be, because ultimately you should not feel that way, because the energy source is from universe and it's not you. And if you're feeling that way, then there's something that you need to do more, to ensure that you're a complete channel, and um, you're not giving your own energy out, to the clients that you work with.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I mean, I could really continue to talk with you a lot longer, but I guess I have to cap it. So, I mean, it's just been thank you is all I can say for sharing your thoughts, your journey, your experiences. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot more experiences in the that you've had over these past 5 years, which I mean I'd love to hear about, and I'm sure my listeners would as well. But like we said earlier, we probably next year have a part two. um, and yeah, great. So thank you so much, and keep doing what you're doing. You know, I mean, I think your effort and your just your your how should I don't know how to say this in the right way. I think it's that purity that you have in you, which is something that is special. So
Oh,
good with everything.
thank you, thank you. I think same goes to you. I'm just so happy to be invited, and yeah, I really hope that your listeners and everyone else out there really enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's really about self awareness. So I really hope that came out across.
Absolutely, it did. It did. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jolene.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I'm completely blown away by Jolene's clarity of thought in the way she has talked about her journey of rediscovering herself, her chosen path of spirituality, giving more meaning to her life. It takes a lot of courage to step into the unknown and to break away from a very structured lifestyle and lead a nomadic one. What I think is beautiful about this life that she has chosen for herself is that she's so free. Must be liberating to not fall into the worldly trappings. Also, she is sharing her learnings and she is helping others. This chat with Jolene has been extremely special for me. Hope you've enjoyed listening to Jolene talk about her journey. As always, I'm excited to bring you a lot more human stories from across the globe. So stay tuned for the next episode of Melting Pot with me, Payal.